6th Annual Environmental and Agricultural Law Conference. Please do note that this session will be recorded, and we are also live streaming this session on Facebook. I'm Nicole Cook. I'm the Environmental and Agricultural Faculty Legal Specialist at the University of Maryland Eastern Shore, and I have the great pleasure of kicking off our conference with today's first session entitled Pivoting in a Pandemic, Risk Management During COVID-19 from the Perspective of Maryland's Dairy Farms. But before we get into our panel, Dr. Moses Cairo, Dean of the University of Maryland Eastern Shore's School of Agricultural and Natural Sciences, would like to say a few welcoming words.
Good afternoon. I am Moses Cairo, Dean of the School of Agricultural and Natural Sciences at stakeholders to engage in a purposeful dialogue about supporting profitable and sustainable farming in a time of ever-increasing regulatory challenges. Like everyone else across the world, our farmers and rural communities alike are now dealing with the challenges of global health crisis that has turned many aspects of our lives upside down. Nevertheless, we are a resilient nation and we will pull through together. Over the next 3 weeks, we will have the honor of having leaders in the areas of farming, law, and academia and government share with us their unique perspectives and insights. The topics will range from animal agriculture to the environment to the bay cleanup and to a look ahead to developing themes in agriculture and environmental law. As always, all of the panels will address timely and complex law and policy matters that directly impact Maryland's farmers. And as always, we encourage you to ask probing questions of the panelists. In fact, this year, we are looking forward to hearing from the people who may not have been able to travel to Annapolis to attend the conference in the past, but who are able to join us in this virtual setting. As Marylanders, we are diverse, but we will need to work together to ensure our state continues to be a national leader in agricultural practices that, while arduous at times, serve to protect the region's fragile natural resources. The University of Maryland Eastern Shore School of Agricultural and Natural Sciences and the UMES Extension Program work closely with students and farmers throughout the Delmarva region with 3 specific goals. First, to provide enhanced knowledge and technology to improve the viability and sustainability of agriculture and food systems. Second, to enhance the quality and resilience of our natural resources and the environment. And finally, to effectively serve the communities, families, and consumers. For the past 7 years, the Agricultural Law Education Initiative's legal specialists at the University of Maryland Eastern Shore, the University of Maryland College Park, and Maryland's Carey Law School have supported Maryland farmers by listening to their legal challenges and providing legal education and resources to help them gain a better understanding of the laws that impact their farming operations. Having a dedicated legal specialist on the UMES campus underscores our strong commitment to serving the needs of Maryland's small and limited resource producers. It has allowed the partner institutions to more effectively leverage each organization's resources to provide more programming throughout the state on a variety of risk management issues, especially food safety, farm marketing, conservation, easement leasing, and business planning for urban and new and beginning farmers. We truly hope that you will find this conference engaging and highly informative, and that it will enhance your understanding of the agricultural and environmental legal issues our farmers face.
Okay, great. Everyone can still hear me? Okay, very good. So I'd like to thank Dean Cairo for his warm welcome and for all of his support for ALEI and the work that we do. I also want to let everyone know that we will have a short break between today's 2 sessions, so you will have a chance to step away from your computer screens for a few minutes between sessions. As Dean Cairo said, these are definitely not ordinary times. When we began planning this conference early last spring, we at ALEI were already aware that Maryland and many other states were seeing our dairy farms disappear. Maryland lost 17 of its dairy farms in 2019. In 2018, 41 dairies in Maryland closed, and in 2017, we saw 33 close. But folks in the dairy industry around this time last year were already actually feeling pretty hopeful for 2020 because we had seen milk prices and production increasing year over year. And then the coronavirus hit, and we watched in shock and disbelief, as I'm sure many of you did, as so many of our farmers and producers across the state and across the country suddenly had their markets disappear. And we saw producers who raise and care for all kinds of livestock having to sometimes make some particularly difficult decisions, like dumping milk or culling animals. And we knew that although this conference focuses on the intersection between agricultural and environmental law, we wanted to take the opportunity to hear from Maryland's dairy producers about how they managed and are still very much managing the effects of the pandemic on their dairy operations. We wanted to give dairy farmers and industry advocates a chance to share with us what lessons they learned about navigating the sudden loss or sudden change in their markets, or disruptions in their supply chain, or how they negotiated maybe the impacts on their workers. And we wanted them to be able to share what they think may have helped their farms weather the risks due to the pandemic, and maybe even might allow them to emerge more resilient to future unforeseen catastrophes. So without further ado, we are very grateful to have with us Katie Dotterer-Pyle, Brooks Long, and Lindsay Reams to share their experiences and insights with us. I'll do a brief intro for everybody before we begin. Katie Dotterer-Pyle is a third-generation dairy farmer, and she and her husband David own and operate Cow Comfort Inn Dairy and Creamery in Union Bridge, Maryland. Katie also teaches Spanish and business education in the public school system, and she instructs an online Spanish program that she specifically designed for the dairy industry. She's also very passionate about educating consumers about agriculture and where their food comes from. She's the creator of the hashtag Ask Farmers, Not Google, which is brilliant. And if you haven't seen Katie's video explaining why lots of dairy farmers were forced to dump some of the milk that they produced, you'll want to be sure that you check it out. It really is one of the best tutorials about the dairy industry overall, not just about the impact of COVID. And it's available on ALEI's website. Brooks Long is a 7th-generation dairy farmer, and he and his wife, Katie, own and operate Long Delight Farm and Delightful Dairy in Williamsport, Maryland. And if you had a chance to read the interview that we did with Brooks that's available on our website, then you know that Brooks and Katie made a crucial decision in 2019 that Brooks says not only helped their dairy farm survive the sudden and unexpected market changes, but really thrive over the last several months. By the way, Brooks was recently interviewed by WDVM for the series Careers in Demand about what it takes to be a dairy farmer. And I loved what you said, Brooks, during the interview, that being a farmer is a job of many jobs because you have to be a veterinarian, you have to be a laborer, you have to be a mechanic or a tractor driver. And I think now our farmers also have to be marketing experts, and maybe they feel like they have to be public health experts or human resource experts. They just have a lot to keep on top of right now. So you can all see Brooks's interview on Delightful Dairy's Facebook page. And Lindsay Reams is the Director of Sustainability and External Relations for the Maryland and Virginia Milk Producers Cooperative Association. She's a member of the cooperative's executive leadership team, and she leads the development and execution of the cooperative's sustainability communications initiatives. Lindsay's work focuses on building on the relationship with customers to develop a value chain that helps cooperatives and businesses reach their sustainability goals together. In 2017, Lindsay was appointed by Governor McAuliffe to serve in his administration as the Assistant Secretary of Agriculture and Forestry for the Commonwealth of Virginia. In that role, she led several initiatives focusing on new crop development, environmental challenges, and economic incentives. Lindsay was part of the 10th generation to grow up on her family's farm in Loudoun County, Virginia, and she and her family currently reside on their Century family farm in Amelia, Virginia. And Lindsay is going to start us off by sharing some of the experiences of the dairy farms that she works with in the cooperative, and then Katie and then Brooks will share with us their experiences on their farms. Because we do have such a short amount of time, we do ask that if you have questions for the speakers, please type your questions into the chat box, and we will have time at the end to read and answer as many of your questions as we can. So Lindsay, do you want to start us off?
Sure. Sure. Can you see my screen? Ready to go. All right, well, Nicole, thank you for that very kind introduction. And it looks like we have multiple generations of farm families represented on the call today. Looking forward to hearing from Katie and Brooks after my presentation. But as Nicole said, I lead sustainability and external relations for Maryland and Virginia Milk Producers Cooperative Association. We are a regional milk marketing cooperative. We have dairy farms all the way from New York down to Georgia, and we have a number of farms located in Maryland, and Brooks is one of our members in Maryland. So happy to have him on this panel to talk about what he's been doing on his farm during 2020. And we're really focused on supporting our farmers and providing nutritious products to those in need. So first, 2020. I think going into 2020, it was really looking like a good year. There were a number of bright spots that we saw within the industry, and there was a lot of hope. The past 5 years, as Nicole alluded to in her remarks, had been very challenging in the industry. We really had lost a number of businesses and farms over the past 5 years, and there was a lot of hope going into 2020. I heard it described, I think last week on a podcast, that there was a light at the end of the tunnel, but we didn't realize that light was really a freight train that happened with COVID-19 and really, upended the entire country, upended the dairy markets, and set us on a roller coaster. And with that roller coaster, I would say we as an industry really were able to hop on and figure out a way to navigate through this challenging time. Within our organization, we have 4 processing plants. So we have 2 fluid milk processing plants, and then we have 2 ingredients plants as well. And we quickly saw orders come in from grocery stores that we had never seen before. So we had to quickly figure out, how do we fulfill these orders? How do we ensure that our customers and consumers get the milk that they need on their shelves? And so one pivot that we made right at the beginning of the stay-at-home orders and the beginning of the COVID-19 crisis was limit the options that were going through our product lines. So we were.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. Is it possible for you to expand the view on your screen to presenter mode? It's a little hard to see.
I was going to say, we're getting presenter view right now.
I'm not sure.
If you go up to display settings, go back. If you go back in.
Go back in the slideshow?
Yeah, go back in the slideshow.
Yeah.
Oh, and start it again.
Okay. All right, I'm in the slideshow.
Oh, I meant start the slideshow view where you're presenting. Like you were earlier.
Same as you were earlier.
Yeah, we can just switch it. It's real easy.
Sorry, Lindsay, thank you.
So am I going from here?
Yeah.
I'm going to go back into the slideshow.
Yep.
Okay. Well, like we said, 2020, it's full of pivots. We're all trying to figure out how to use YouTube and present the information. So hopefully you can see what's on my screen. But we were able to quickly pivot within our operations to ensure we could meet our customer orders. We rose to the challenge, and I think during the beginning of this, you saw a lot of focus on our essential workforce. And I would say, at the start of it, it's the farm level. So Katie and Brooks on their farm, continued. The cows still have to be milked. Everything has to be completed at the farm level. And then our processing plants, our employees showed up every day, and we did everything we could to ensure that they felt protected and safe within our manufacturing facilities. And we're very thankful that that process worked well, and it included a number of investments at the plant level, really focused on ensuring everyone was safe from the farm level all the way to delivery to our end customers. And this is a photo of one of our processing facilities. This is pre-COVID.
I don't think we're seeing that, Lindsay. I'm so sorry.
Okay. Well, I'll just continue to talk through, and maybe the slides will come up, and if not,
I'm so sorry to disturb you, Lindsay. I'm just going to try one more troubleshooting attempt. So if you could hit play from current slide on your screen, what we're seeing is actually just your PowerPoint and not the. So if you could then go ahead and start the slideshow in the bottom right as you did earlier. From the So sorry about this, everyone. Thank you for bearing with us.
Yeah.
Okay, are y'all seeing the screen?
Almost.
Wouldn't be a conference, right?
Okay, so we are only able to see what it looks like in PowerPoint. So if you could manually tab through your slides as you talk, that would be awesome.
I'm just going to scrap the PowerPoint since it seems to be having challenges, and I'll just talk through what I was going to present. So we saw, obviously, trying to get everything we needed to the grocery store level. We were able to do that. One thing we're really proud of within our organization, our members have been investing in our facilities for a number of years. And with those investments, we have the capacity to take all of our members' milk. So even if we weren't able to process that milk into fluid milk, we were able to send it to our ingredients facilities. And we didn't have any of our member milk dumped at the farm level. So I know some people saw those images and it was really hard to understand. And Katie, I think you did a great job with your presentation, trying to explain the supply chain, what happens at the farm level versus what you see in the grocery store. It's a fairly complicated process, and you can't just turn a supply line on or off. But we were able to get our members' milk through and meet our consumer demand. And one real positive that the dairy industry has seen throughout this pandemic is an increase in fluid milk sales and an increase in demand. There was a survey that was done, and over 70% of moms said milk was the #1 product that they needed for their families during the pandemic and during this time. So we've seen it as a great opportunity to feed families and to really provide rich dairy nutrition in the products that we process. And we're hoping going forward that, one of the outcomes is really a steady increase in demand and going back to the essentials within the families that we serve. So we think that that's a real positive to come out of this situation and continue to look for ways to provide that milk. Another thing that our members did and our organization did, we are very close in the communities that we operate, and we saw a need when families lost their jobs overnight. And we knew that we had this great product and we wanted to get it in their hands. So a number of our members worked to establish food drives. They identified food banks. They helped purchase refrigeration at these food banks to ensure we could get products. And that continues right now. We are servicing a number of different organizations through the Farmers Feeding Families Food Box Program and others. So that's another positive opportunity I think that the dairy industry can see to make a positive impact through this pandemic. So with that, Nicole, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you. So sorry for the complications, folks. Thank you so much. So Katie, take it away.
All right. Taking it, you can hear me just to test it real quick. Okay, cool. All right, hello everybody. My name is Katie Daughter Arpaio, and I am co-owner with my husband at Cal Comfort in Dairy. We are located in Union Bridge, Maryland, so we're literally right over the the Maryland PA border. So we're 20 minutes south of Gettysburg, and we are first generation farmers. My husband and I were both third generation farmers, but we had this crazy idea to start our own dairy. I highly don't recommend it. Anyway, no, it's fun. So we're milking about 400 cows here in Maryland. We've actually only been in the state for 7 years. A lot of people ask why did you move to Maryland when so many dairies are leaving Maryland? And to put it quite simply, it was a compromise. I wanted to go south. I love warm weather, which is why you'll see palm trees in the back and my Caribbean style office. My husband wanted to go north. He's from Vermont. So anyway, we absolutely are enjoying Maryland, and especially all of the programs and help that we've been able to get through the state. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that. So I was asked to talk about what changed on farm for us. Now with 400 cows, we have a team of 6, which does not include my husband or I. So I often tell people it's a skeleton crew, if you will. 6 and then 7, 8 with Dave and I is a very small number to manage just the 400 milk cows here. We have a total of 800, if you're talking all young stock and everything, and the heifers and drag cows are in 2 separate locations. So we're at one of the 3 farms every day. So it is a very, very, very busy, very full days for us. And I also teach on the side. So I have to be on, like, a lot of things didn't change per se on farm. We already had protocols and procedures put in place, and you know, simple things like latex gloves. They have been our protocol since we started dairying 12 years ago. Those, by the way, one of the things that did change, they were getting harder and harder to get, just like some other products like chlorine, chemicals, things that were known to kill COVID. So products were getting hard to get, but we never ran into the predicament of not being able to get them. So we still have a crap ton of latex gloves. We're very stocked on those because I just had a feeling at some point we might not be able to get those, and that would not be a good situation for us. And at the time I was teaching part-time, and so my life completely changed. We went into quarantine and finished out the school year. I teach in Frederick County actually, and I was used to teaching online, so that part wasn't new to me, but I'm a severe extrovert. I love people. I love talking. I just love people. And so this is still very hard for me to speak to you through a computer. I would rather be at an event. So it kind of bothered me that it didn't change my husband's life at all. So he of course is very in tune to what was going on and everything, but he just went about his daily business, and I was dying inside. So anyway, one of the big things that, I don't want to say we changed, because we did have in the beginning, is open communication with our crew. I really steer against calling them employees, because we're more of a team. We don't tell each other what to do. We work together to make sure our cows are comfortable every day, that everybody's taking the utmost care of them, that they're in the best health. That's what dairy farmers do, and that we're shipping out the highest quality milk possible. So we always had open communication, but it was the day after we got sent home from school, so March 13th, Friday the 13th, and we had actually already had a team meeting planned with our crew. And so, you know, COVID was obviously top of mind for everybody. And since this started, I have had, for my mental health, I'm like, okay, what is the silver lining? What silver lining can we get out of this? And mine was education. Oh my goodness, I'm going to do virtual farm tours. So I was super excited, and I remember, so I'm in the team meeting, and I was like, hey guys, I'm gonna go ahead and film a virtual farm tour tomorrow. Like, just give me a heads up. So I'm in the milking parlor, like, you know, if you want to say hi or whatever. And Miguel was like, how many people is filming? And I was like, whoa, like I've never, you know, experienced this before with them, because usually like, okay, yeah, Katie's up to her video stuff again. And I was like, well, I was gonna have a friend come film because it's easier for me to talk than somebody else. And he was like, just one though, right? One. Like, he was already very concerned that, no, you are not bringing more outside people in, because I've been known to have film crews here before. And I was like, you know what? I totally respect that. So I went ahead with the farm tour, but from the get-go, I was like, you know what? This is, the communication on farm for our crew is even more crucial, if you will, because I needed to respect that. And they respected it in turn, because they have family from Baltimore that come up every Sunday. It's one of, well, 2 of our crews, our people's day off. And they actually put a halt to that, which I was shocked, because family is everything to them. And they just said, nope, no families coming up to visit from Baltimore. And that went on for probably the first 3 or 4 months. So the communication did change a little bit, and it changed for the better. So that was, again, silver lining, right? There's always good things that can come out of things like this. Let me see, I have notes. So Lindsay referred to the, and Nicole, to the supply chain video I did. So when this first started, right? And then we ship our milk, by the way, to Land O'Lakes. And I had heard stories about farmers already starting to dump milk. We might get asked to dump milk. And so we were being updated very frequently by Land O'Lakes. We would get emails almost every day saying, okay, this is what we're trying to do with the food, blah, blah, blah. Well, it wasn't until I actually started seeing fellow farmers, and by the way, no Land O'Lakes farmers also had to dump milk, thank goodness. But you know, it's always in the back of your head as a farmer, like I could be that next call. You know, every time my cell phone rang or every time I saw an email from Land O'Lakes, I'm like, oh, is this the one? Thank goodness we did not. And so anyway, there was fellow farmers that shipped to other co-ops or processors that were starting to dump milk. And of course they were posting about it. And to each their own, okay? But what upset me was when I would see a post like that from a fellow farmer, oh my gosh, we're dumping milk, we're losing lots of money. They didn't understand why this was happening. And so I would read through the comments, and as like an advocate, I'm used to like gauging people's responses and reactions to things. And I'm like, you're not explaining to not only your fellow farmers, but to the consumers, like what's happening? Why are you being asked to dump milk? And I had woken up, it was a Saturday morning. It was right when all this stuff, we were like in the thick of it. And I woke up one morning and on my Cow Comfort in Dairy page on Facebook, I can't tell you how many messages I woke up to. And it was like, Katie, why is this happening? Why are farmers dumping milk? Why, you know, this is crazy. And then I even got one saying that dairy farmers were selfish because how could you just dump milk? Why can't you take it to a food bank? And I'm like, okay, we need some education here. So the educator in me was like, all right, but before I even did anything, I was like, I want to get my facts straight. I have a degree in business, and I really did not like my supply chain management classes. They were just, it was a lot of numbers, and I'm not a numbers person. So anyway, I contacted Land O'Lakes and I was like, you know, I really want to understand what's happening here. Can somebody explain to me in detail in Katie's language, you know, what's happening? Why are farms being asked to dump milk? What's going on in the supply chain management part? So Land O'Lakes, I'm super like, they're great. They hooked me up on a Saturday with the senior vice president of supply chain management, right? This guy's like head honcho of supply chain. This gentleman took an hour out of his time on a Saturday morning to have a telephone call with me and explain to me bit by bit, piece by piece, Katie, this is how supply chain works within Land O'Lakes. And so I don't know, I took like three pages of notes, and I started to formulate this plan in this video in my head. And so what I did is I had these squishy cows, not this one, this one's wearing shorts, but I had some cows, and I even had a toy milk truck. And it showed people the process first, because some people, you have to remember, so we're less than 2% of the population, right? So us farmers, we know what we're doing. We know what happens to the milk to an extent. Consumers don't. And even farmers, we don't, like my uncle always said, growing up on my family farm, there's a reason I'm a dairy farmer and I don't work for the cooperative, or I don't work in exports. I don't care what happens, just market my milk. That's why I pay you to market my milk. I want to do the farming part where I'm taking care of my animals and I know I'm shipping high quality stuff. And so it just was very apparent to me that consumers forgot two big things. One, you can't just shut your cows off. You can't tell them to cross their legs and hold it. That's not going to happen. And two, a lot of consumers forget that milk is highly perishable. We can't just store it forever and a day, right? But what consumers don't know versus what they might forget, completely two different things. What they don't know, consumers have no idea the processes that milk goes through in order to become butter, in order to become cheese, even just to become fluid milk. I had a follower like, well, why can't you just take the milk truck down to the road? And I'm like, that's not how this works. And so I had the whole table set up with milk and my little milk truck and everything. So I did explain the processes, but even more so, especially for the farmers that didn't understand why they were being asked to dump milk, is, hey, let's break down the supply chain process and really understand how that works. A lot of people didn't get, and farmers included, that over half, and now I can only talk to Land O'Lakes specifically because that's where I did my homework, over half of our milk production goes into food service. And I learned that you can't just say food service because a lot of people don't understand what food service means. That means schools, that means restaurants, that means all these places that were suddenly closed where all of our dairy products were going. We're no longer able to store or sell our product. So we have this huge disruption. So then I have farmers like, oh, well, they should have planned for this. I'm sorry, who planned for a pandemic in 2020? Nobody. And I think the biggest takeaway from this is that supply chain management, we have it down to such a science in this country. We should be proud of that fact. But because we have it down to razor thin margins, you cannot turn it on a dime. You can't turn a truck on a dime. You can't turn anything on a dime. And a lot of people too were like, okay, well, why can't you just like start producing, you know, cheese, shredded cheese? And I had to explain to somebody, well, a plant that's designed to make 50-pound bags of cheese for a commercial, you know, for a school or for a restaurant, they don't have the machines that they have, they can't just switch like that. Right. So it was a big lesson for everybody, consumers and farmers. And so I do hope that, I know consumers learned a lot. I had teachers across the nation asking for a link to that video, which, by the way, if you want to view it, it is on my Facebook page, Cow Comfort in Dairy. And so it was a great economics lesson. And actually, I just showed it with my business classes this year. So that was the supply chain. And I just hope that we all learned something from that, especially about how, you know, once it leaves the farm, it goes through a lot in order to get to families to feed everybody else.
Yeah, great.
The last things I'll just touch on quick is the support programs. So we have been very fortunate to be able to have those support programs. And I'm talking the PPP, the Payroll Protection Program, and then the Coronavirus Food Assistance Program. The second part just came out not too long ago, so we've been able to take part in both of those. And I give the full credit to my husband for doing those. He's the paperwork guy. He's the numbers guy. So we've been able to do that, and we're very, very thankful for those programs. They have been a big, big help. We also contract our milk. So we contract, and when I say contract, we do risk management. So we lock in milk price, if you will, and it's a gamble every day, but we lock in about 70%, which is the max you can do on your milk production. So that has also helped us. And there has also been, I'm trying to think of the other programs off the top of my head. Brooks, you could probably speak to that. It's the federal government program. Oh, the insurance programs. That's what I'm looking for. The dairy margin protection program and some other things. So I also hope that really showed dairy farmers the value in those types of programs, and that they are insurance programs, and that you can't ask for that money after the fact. It's just like, you know, car insurance. You can't be like, hey, I need car insurance after you've been in a car accident. So this is a big, I think, multiple lessons in this for everybody. But as of right now, we're still forging ahead. You kind of have to as a dairy farmer. And I did agree to teach full time this year just because I didn't know what was going to happen. And I'm one to always plan ahead. And I'm still able to do both because I'm speaking to you from my home. I just taught my classes this morning, and I can walk right out my door and go to the farm. So I hope I covered everything. Nicole, am I missing anything?
No, thank you so much. Very, very, yeah, we'll get back into questions, but thank you so much. So Brooks.
All right, well, I guess I'll try to hit it here from a couple different sides. From my perspective, I think Lindsay did a really good job of covering, you know, on the co-op side, and I think Katie hit a lot of the farm side. I'll reiterate a little bit on the farm side because we're kind of hitting it. We hit it from two angles. You know, we currently ship to Maryland, Virginia milk producers. We've been shipping to Maryland, Virginia for almost 60 years. So from the farm side, like Lindsay said, we were blessed. Nobody in our co-op was asked to dump milk. Our co-op did an amazing job getting that milk moved through the plant. I will point out the fact that, you know, this pandemic hit right prior to the spring flush, which we always experience through the co-ops when everybody goes up in milk in the spring. So typically it's hard just to move all the milk on a normal year. So the fact that this hit and everything had to pivot and you had to deal with that spring flush, to be able to move all that milk like Maryland, Virginia did was a very impressive feat for them. And I was very thankful for that. Like Katie said, we followed through with any of the government programs that were put forward to help the farmers weather this storm. The PPP we participated in on both the Delightful Dairy side and on Long Delight Farm side. We did the CFAP 1, CFAP 2. I will even point out the program that just came out a week or so ago that Governor Hogan is even the state is giving money to the local farmers. And we're very, we don't want to have to live on government money, but in a situation like this, you really don't have a choice but to accept any help we can to weather this storm to make sure that we can continue to produce the products that we produce. So we're very thankful for all of that. On the farm side with the employees, we really didn't have, we're a small farm. We milk about 60 cows. My only employee besides myself is my father on the farm side, other than a little bit, my daughter helps with feeding calves and stuff like that. So we didn't have to worry about much with the employee side. Now my dad obviously he's 68. He's in that more of the, the susceptible range, the danger range. Now, the thing with him is he actually works a full-time job off the farm for Napa Auto Parts. So he's more likely to be exposed on his other job than he was at the farm. So we had to be mindful of that. Obviously we want to be careful. I don't know whether I should think this way or not, but I kind of feel like the amount of calf manure I've been exposed to in my life, my immune system has pretty much seen everything, but that's not fair to think. You still have to be mindful of everybody else, and especially with us dealing on the consumer side as well. And I'm also at our store a lot. You have to be mindful of the customers and stuff like that. So leaving the farm side, since I think Katie hit a lot of that and the issues we dealt with on that side. We opened our processing facility and retail store in June of 2019. So this pandemic started less than a year after we opened. We started with minimal equipment, but enough, we had a pretty good capacity getting started. But what this did, we saw our sales through the store and through our wholesale markets increased about 150% from February through April. I credit a lot of that it was mostly fluid milk sales. It was a combination of people trying to avoid the big box stores when everything shut down and you were limited to Walmart or the local grocery store, and people were trying to avoid going to those stores. They were trying to buy local, and there was issues with just keeping those grocery stores supplied, and they had limits of 1 gallon per family. And our people were looking for more milk than that. And they would come to our store and say, do you have any limits? And I said, buy all you want. I'm making more tonight. The cows are always milking. We would bottle it as fast as we could. Now, with that said, we only had so much capacity. So we were working 12, 13 hours a day to make sure we could get enough process to keep the consumers satisfied. But we were able to keep up with that. We were really happy with that. We kept close tabs on what the government was doing, each regulation that came through, whether it affected us or not. Obviously, we were an essential business because we were selling food products. We tried to bring in as many other food products as we could to make it so that the consumer could get as many products as possible from our location without having to go around to several different stops. So we know our customers were really happy with that. So, face masks, everything, we started posting all that stuff, obviously. We had always talked about going to an online sales platform. We wanted to have that available. We didn't have it set up yet, but we did quickly set up an online store so that we could offer pre-order. We offered curbside pickup, or you could come in and pick up, or you could just shop as normal as you wanted. We didn't want to limit the customers to one way or another. We talked with all of our staff. They were comfortable with continuing to do things the way we were, but added those options in for the customers that did not want to come in or risk anything. So that, I think that the customers were really happy with that. We still have an occasional customer that will ask for curbside pickup, very few at this point. I think being in a rural area, you don't see quite the, you see people a little more willing to go into places out in our area. I will say, I know Katie pointed out where she is. We're in Western Maryland, Williamsport. We're a little bit off of Interstate 81. If you're familiar with where 81 goes through Maryland, it's right up there at the skinny part of Maryland. It's only about 12 miles wide. She's just south of Pennsylvania. We're just north of West Virginia. We're only about a mile from the river into West Virginia. So I think I'll just kind of wrap that up at that point. So we do have some time for questions, but I think everybody, with all of us, I think we hit on the main points.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. I know I have some questions too, but thank you, Lindsay, Katie, and Brooks. And I just want to, well, first of all, thank you so much for taking time out of your really busy schedules. We very much appreciate it. And I do want to let folks know, if you didn't see it come up in the chat box, that Lindsay, we will send your slides also when we send the recording of the session to the attendees, so they will get those. And I do think I see some questions in the chat box, and so I can start with some of those. There's one here, as we think about a pandemic and post-pandemic recovery, perhaps a green recovery, our Maryland dairies thinking about anaerobic digestion using dairy manure and waste to make biogas and RNG, natural gas, for electricity and or transportation uses. What are the promises and challenges that you've discussed? Do you think this could be in your future? It's an interesting question. Is that being talked about?
I would love to do that, but those things cost starting at $1 million. So especially for a first generation farm, if you can give me the money, I would be more than happy to put that in. We do here at Cal Comfort, and we recycle our manure. So meaning what is not used for fertilizer, we actually take and we dry it out. So it goes through a separator, it dries out, and then we can use it for bedding. So we're actually not spending additional money every month for bedding. So we're using that with recycled manure. So I know it's not the same thing, but those things are very expensive.
Yes. Yeah, Lindsay, is that, or Brooks? Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, for us personally, we're a grazing operation, so our cows are out of the barn as much as possible. So we don't even collect much manure. It automatically goes, is spread back onto the fields naturally. I think, and just speaking in my area specifically, we're average size in my area is only about 100 cow dairies. It's really not financially feasible for operations that small. I would love to see more of like a community setup that could collect manure from several different locations to generate electricity, as opposed to having them on each individual farm. I know that's about the only way that would be feasible in my area, but I would very much support that, and any kind of technology they could come up to make that feasible for small scale operations.
Yeah, and I would just follow up on that. I think, Katie, you nailed it on the head with the cost. I know a number of farms would love to do something like that, but there are just a number of factors, economics being first. But as a dairy industry, we really made a commitment to sustainability, and the U.S. Dairy Sustainability Alliance this year announced the goal to be net zero by 2050 as an industry. So there's a lot of actions that can happen on each individual farm to get us there. And you'll see, I mean, just the difference between Katie's operation and Brooks' operation. It's not a one size fits all, but our organization, we're very interested in supporting our farmers and helping implement best management practices to reduce their impact on the environment. The majority of our farms are located within the Chesapeake Bay watershed. So this is a priority for us as an organization.
Great, well, interesting question and interesting to hear about it. I don't think I see any other questions. Am I missing any questions, folks? I don't see any. And so we actually are right on time. So I guess we will go ahead and wrap it up. So thank you so much again to our panelists. Thank you again for everybody who joined us for this session. I want to remind everybody who registered for the conference that you should be receiving a survey where you can give us feedback about the conference overall, as well as evaluating each of the sessions that you attend. We really do read those results. They are super helpful to us when we plan our conferences, so please do take a few minutes to complete the survey. We have a short break now. I'm sorry, something's flashing on my screen. Well, one last question. Well, I'm sorry. Go ahead and write the question out and we can, sorry. I'm gonna go ahead and give you one more question. It wouldn't be a conference and it wouldn't be an online conference if we didn't have hiccups along the way. Katie, this question looks like it's for you. Katie, you touched on the need for education in farmers and consumers about the supply chains. I believe the legal side of farms is also relatively unknown, at least for consumers. What are those issues in your opinion, if that's something that you've given some consideration to?
I completely agree with that. And that's not just for consumers, that's farmers also. And especially as a new kind of newcomer still to Maryland. I'm still learning about the laws, but we also just opened an ice cream. It's very, very simple ice cream. We just do soft serve. This is our second year open on farm. And so I think this is what came to my mind as soon as I read that question was consumers think that, oh, it's a farm. I can go anywhere. I can walk wherever I want to. And it's not true. It's still private property, but consumers don't get that. They have this still like nostalgic thing in their head, whereas a dairy farmer, I must be able to like go anywhere and frolic through the fields or the freestall barn. So definitely, I think that is, that's one of the biggest things I can think of right now. Actually, one big thing legally is antibiotics. That is a common question I get all the time about antibiotics in milk. People do not realize it's illegal to have any trace of antibiotics in milk. So that's always a big shocker, always a big light bulb moment when I give farm tours. So, I mean, I'm just skimming the surface here. There's a lot of legal issues that could be brought more light to for both consumers and farmers.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I'm always so sad that we have to end so early, and there's so much that we could talk about. But again, thank you so much, everybody. And we're going to have a short break, and then we're going to come back at 3 o'clock for today's second session, a fresh look at clean air, Maryland Ambient Air Quality Study Roundtable. Thank you again. We hope our panelists will stay on for that session as well, if they can, but I know everybody's busy. Thank you again. Enjoy the rest of your day, everyone.
Thank you.